Candlewood Lake in western Connecticut is one of the most interesting bodies of water in New England. From above, it looks peaceful and natural, but the story behind it is anything but simple. The entire lake is man-made, and almost everything you see beneath the surface was once a valley full of farms, homes, and rolling fields. Over 100 years ago, in the early 1920s, engineers from the Connecticut Light and Power had an ambitious idea. They wanted to create a massive reservoir to generate hydroelectric power for the growing state. To do it, they built the Rocky River Dam and flooded more than 5,000 acres of land. Entire communities were relocated. Roads were removed. Barns, fences, and stone walls disappeared under what is now the largest lake in Connecticut. From the air, you can see the lake's unique shape. More than 60 miles of shoreline twisting through 5 different towns: Danbury, New Milford, Brookfield, Sherman, and New Fairfield. What looks like small coves and inlets today were once separated hills and ridges. Some of those foundations, chimneys, and stone walls are still at the bottom, exactly where people left them 100 years ago. Candlewood isn't just big, it changes constantly. During the winter drawdown, the water level can drop as much as 10 to 12 feet, revealing long, sandy stretches that boaters never see in the summer. And that drawdown still plays a role in protecting the lake, reducing invasive plants, preventing shoreline erosion, and helping keep the water healthier year after year. Maybe you know somebody that's been on Candlewood Lake. It's also one of the busiest recreation spots in the state. More than 1,500 docks line the shoreline, and on a summer weekend, the lake can feel like a small city of boats. Everything from fishing skiffs to high-performance speedboats use this water. Below the surface, anglers chase bass, trout, and even the famous Candlewood Lake carp, some of the largest in New England. But from the cockpit, you see it differently. The patterns of coves, the colors of the water, the long shadows over the hills at sunset. It feels like you're flying over a quiet, hidden world. You're looking down at a century of history that most people never realize is there. Crystal Lake in Stafford Springs is one of Connecticut's quiet, hidden gems, and its history goes back much further than most people realize. The lake covers just over 180 acres, fed by cold, natural springs that gave it its name far back in the mid-1800s, when early travelers described the water as clear as glass. In the early 1900s, Crystal Lake became a small summer retreat. Old postcards show cottages lining the shore, a lakeside dance hall, and weekend visitors arriving by trolley from Hartford and Springfield. None of that is obvious from the air today, but the shoreline still follows the same layout those early vacationers enjoyed more than a century ago. From the cockpit, the lake sits like an oval mirror tucked between wooden hills. In the morning, light turns the water blue-green with calm reflections that make it look completely untouched. On the ground, people swim, kayak, and fish for trout and bass, but from the air, Crystal Lake feels peaceful, timeless, and unchanged, a reminder of old New England summers still resting quietly in the hills of Stafford Springs. Lake Bungee in Woodstock is one of those quiet Connecticut lakes that most people drive past without ever realizing how much history is tucked around its shoreline. From above, it looks peaceful, almost perfectly framed by the rolling hills of the quiet corner. But the lake itself wasn't always here. It began as a small natural pond before being expanded in the early 20th century when local families built cottages around the water and turned it into a small summer community. The name Bungee is believed to come from an old family surname connected to the land during the 1800s. Early maps show farmlands, mills, and narrow dirt roads running through what is now the lake neighborhood. By the 1930s and 40s, it became a gathering place for weekend vacationers escaping the cities, and many of the original camps still sit along the shoreline today. From the cockpit, Lake Bungee stands out with its curved shoreline and deep green water surrounded by thick forests that stay vibrant late into the fall. It's small, quiet, and tucked away. But that's part of the charm. You're looking at a lake shaped by generations of families who spent their summers here long before aviation ever touched the skies above Woodstock. Last but not least, Shenipsit Lake sits quietly between Ellington and Tolland, but from above it stands out immediately. Long, narrow, and perfectly shaped by the hills around it. The lake stretches more than 6 miles from end to end. Today it looks peaceful, but its history goes back to Connecticut's earliest days. The name Shenipsit comes from an Algonquin word meaning "at the great water," and Native American families relied on the lake and its surrounding streams for fishing and travel long before the area was settled. In the late 1800s, as nearby towns grew, the lake took on a new purpose. It became a public water supply for Rockville and later the city of Vernon. To protect the water quality, much of the shoreline was kept underdeveloped, which is why it still looks so natural from the sky today. From the cockpit, Shenipsit is striking. Long shadows stretch across the water, the tree line follows every bend, and the lake runs like a silver ribbon through Connecticut's countryside. On the ground, it's a quiet place for walking, fishing, and small boat kayaking. But from above, you can see the full shape of the lake, shaped by centuries of history and preserved almost exactly the way nature intended.